Hi guys, how's it going? Today we're doing another video, but today a bit different. It won't be riding the pit bikes, it's going to be more repair based, sort of maintenance sort of jobs on the pit bike, which is another bit of the channel I wanted to go off and do. Today we're doing a timing chain and head gasket on a 110 Welsh pit bike, a stomped generic bottom end sort of thing. Yeah, just be walking you guys through it, showing you how to do tips, tricks that I've picked up along the years of me doing it sort of thing. And yeah, let's get into it guys, let's go! Right guys, as you can see we've got the pit bike here. It's obviously a Welsh pit bike 110. Obviously the timing chain's behind all this, it runs up and down the engine along here. Obviously running off the crankshaft, you've got an idler pulley here which runs off that bolt there which you just remove. Behind here you've got your cam cover, obviously that's where your timing chain, your cam gear runs. You've got your oil drain bung there, which obviously you want to drain the oil out on this job because otherwise you're going to have a messy floor. And your timing chain tensioner, which is right there. To get to all of that, you obviously start off by taking this cover off. So yeah, let's get into it guys, let's go. Right guys, to get this bash plate, shield, whatever you want to call it, off, which is the first job, you've got a 10mm here and one that comes off the other side off these two mounting lugs here. So you want to get them two off first. 10mm on a ratchet is going to be easiest way to start from what I've learnt. Spanner, obviously you don't get the ratchet in, takes 10 times longer. And you also, right here, just in front of the foot peg, but using the foot peg bolt hole, you've got two 12mm which also hold it on. And where are we looking? We've got one there, one there, one there, and one up behind the exhaust, which you can't quite see, but my thumbs and fingers touching it there. Right guys, just a quick one as well here, little pro tip. When you're doing stuff, i.e. engine work, any sort of fiddly, iffy job where you're going to have more than 30 or 40 nuts and bolts, sort of where you're going to get confused, a good rule of thumb is always use the right bolt one at a time from where you took them out from. Just put them back in finger tight, and they're going to be clean, exposed, and straight away know if I try and put that plate back on, the bolt's going to try line there, hit the bolt, be able to take the bolt out straight away. I know where the bolt come from, I know where it's all going to line up, I can see how everything goes. And also, if you're a bit of an idiot like me and you like to forget things, you can also have to rely on your brain less to know where you put things, which can make the whole job a damn sight quicker. And now I'm trying to put bolts in blinded. Right, now we've got that bash plate off, we can get under the engine. And if you look towards the front of the exhaust head or just behind it, you'll notice we've got two bolts. This one, which goes into the engine a bit of a sort of angle, and this one towards the right hand side of the crankcase, which goes directly down. That is your oil drain bolt, that is your timing chain tensioner, which behind that is a bolt and a spring which pushes your timing chain. Only undo that if you're doing timing chains, but always first undo the oil and have a bowl ready because you're going to make a mess. Right, let's get it. And now I'll show you guys, but we do the dirty job. Right. Now, if you know me, you know I've been doing this a while. And no, it's all a myth. You cannot do this without getting oil on your finger. Total bollocks. And then there she goes. Right, so now we've got the oil removed and the sump nut put back in and tightened up to spec, just so it doesn't leak any oil anymore for all that we're wobbling it. Next we want to take off the carburettor, which you don't have to. You can either undo the fuel pipe and the cap there and take it off with one unit, which is 10 times more awkward to put it back together from my experience. So I'll be taking the carb off most likely here, undoing the exhaust two bolts there, take that off the head. Then we're ready to start stripping the engine towards the actual timing chain itself. Oh, and I'll be taking this cover off, which is held in by 10mm there, a 10mm there, and a 10mm down the front there. Alright, let's get into it. That's the carburettor, that cover here off, and the exhaust taken off for the head there. Next up is to get this timing chain cover off. You can get these two screws slackened off or taken out there, which hold the head down. Then it'll be timing chain tensioner, actual head studs, nuts, whatever you want to call them. Undo them, top plate, undo the cam gear, chain will slide off. But yeah, let's get into it. Alright guys, so now we're getting down into it and starting to see some engine internals. Just walk you through what we're looking at. obviously behind this aluminium cover we've now taken off, you've got this cog, which is a chain driven cog with obviously 3 9mm, not 10 or 8, 9mm nuts holding that on. Now, you don't want to do these all the way, but you don't want to leave them tight either, so you have to spin the engine undo once you've got the flywheel up and you can't hold nothing. So just one hand, good grip on the flywheel. 1, 2, 3, and they're all hand tight and can be done by hand with a screwdriver, fucking 6.3 or 1/4 inch drive, whatever you want to call it. And after that, we want to be taking the timing chain tension, which I mentioned earlier, out, which is that diagonal bolt here. And then also the flywheel wants to come off, but we've got the technique and all the time for getting that off, because without an impact gun, it can't be done at all. Notice the inverted speech marks. Now, we have the flywheel to get off, which obviously the 14mm nut, rule of thumb, generally always 14. You can either use a 1/2 inch, 3/8, whatever, impact gun and ugga-dugga it off. I've had a few, but you know, cost of living going up, blah, blah, blah. I've had to go back to the old fashioned way. Also shows those who don't have the access to an impact gun how to do this job. So you want to hold the flywheel with one hand the best you can, ratchet, and luckily that one was a doddle. Generally not so easy. And you can buy a fancy dancy flywheel puller to get it off. Obviously once you've done your job, you can turn it all back out of the way. Or you can just slowly but surely, she will there we have it, guys. Obviously the nut you have to hammer with a decent bar to get the nut to crack off. Then it's a matter of how I do it. Obviously your coil has a sail or coil there and one up here, but hit between these two sections here there's a clear spot, so you get your screwdriver and lever bar, whatever, behind. With 2 people it's easier. Lean on them with your knees if you've got 1 person or 2 people, if, like I say, it's easier. And slowly just go around this, knocking, tapping, 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 slowly without bending the flywheel so don't hit too hard. And eventually you'll break the seal on the taper and you'll have a flywheel off. And now we can see the stator, which we've got to remove, which will be this crosshead here and this crosshead here. I'm going to lean it down a bit more so the oil don't fall out. Then it'll be cam chain off, head off, and we'll be most of the way there. Let's go. Right, back at it. Next job is to take off this stator. This is the thing that controls the spark along with the flywheel by spinning it in this, spinning the flywheel on the outside of this copper coil to create a spark. But next job is to get this plate off. You can do the wiring. I'm just going to cable tie it up out of the way. You've got a crosshead there and a crosshead there. There are Phillips too. These are 2 of the most infamous bolts for rounding on a pit bike engine. 9 times out of 10 they will round. I'm expecting these where they've never been done to maybe come undone first try. Failing that, if you do round them, it is a hammer and a drift job onto something that is aluminium backed. So if you round them, it's a ball ache. You're most likely going to damage this, and then you have to order a new one of them, which is 10 to 15 quid plus another 3-day wait. So just take your time, take an extra half hour to do it, and you're going to guarantee you're not going to have to spend another 15 quid and wait 3 days to go out with your pals for a ride again. Right, so as you can see, here's some 2 bolts. Neither of them wanted to come, and I could tell straight away they were going to round, and these are the factory set bolts that clearly no one's ever done. That damaging is me. I've drifted them in such a way that obviously I can still now get a crosshead in there and turn it, but I did have to drift them. I suggest using a dot punch, not a wide-headed cold chisel punch, because you're just going to damage the bolt less and not damage the aluminium. See, I've put a little pip there, but that isn't going to affect it at all. And for my drift work, which ain't the best, quite proud of the quality of that. Right, let's carry on and see how much closer we are to the timing chain. So after we take them 2 screws off, I've got a flat braid screw off here, off this edge and off this corner, and slowly just wiggle about, and that'll pull off to the point where it just clears there without unplugging the loom. That gives me all the clearance I need. And as you can see, here's our timing chain. There's our tensioner where that angled bolt comes through. It pushes off this rod, pushes that cog down, pushes on the chain to keep it tight. Now obviously, chains having stretched, tensioner having got weak, obviously it weren't doing the job no more and it was providing play, so when you start the bike you get a tapping noise. But yeah, I then went on to lift this cog, literally just to get a screwdriver behind it or a thin pick and pull this off of the dowel that it sits on. That'll fall down on the engine a bit, undo the 4 bolts at the top, and the head wheel just with a bit of wiggling slides straight off, which leaves us to get the cam gear out, which goes there. And then it'll be bore off. But yeah, once it's obviously on the block, I've done something a bit stupidly, I know, but obviously you remove that bolt out of there, remove that pulley, you lift that out of the timing chain, slide the bore itself off from the piston. It'll be a bit stiff because of the piston rings. But after that, as you can see, timing chain's are ready. Just unhook it off this cog like such. You can do it for me one-handed. I'm trying to get you guys to see and do it. It's not the easiest of tasks, but we have it. One timing chain. And obviously we'll compare that up to a new one, check for wear, size marks. We've got a new gasket to go in. Every edge of the gasket will be cleaned up with a razor blade, ready up to spec, giving a nice smooth film of oil over it so the gasket sticks. And then we can begin the rebuild process. Right, stay tuned. This is one that even threw me, so I thought I'd throw this in here just to educate you guys who might not know. Here's the original timing chain that come out of the engine. Now, me being the hero, I didn't take it apart before. I just typed in eBay 110 pit bike timing chain, and they all come up with 62 links. So I thought generically that they're all the same, irrelevant of the variant of the engine generation, etc, etc, as long as it was a 50 to 110, possibly 125. No, being a Welsh pit bike 110, it has the equivalent of the 125 bottom end, I believe, which uses the 42 link timing chain, which is a lot rarer to come up online. So don't make the mistake that me or my friend did and order the 62 link outright thinking it'll fit. Take it apart is your best bet, or find someone who knows the engine, or check via your engine numbers and make sure that you're going to order the right chain and not waste a tenner. And now I've got a kitchen with a pit bike in for a day because I didn't check. Check things before you order them. Can't stress that one enough. We've all made mistakes. Just double check. Alright guys, so I'm still waiting on parts. Yeah, hopefully they should be dropped off soon. If my mate can get them picked up today, then we'll, Diesel, come on. Come, out. Out. On the bed. Come on. On the bed. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, hopefully the parts come today. And I'll do the rest of the video in a part 2, or maybe even a part 3, like sort of collection or whatever. But yeah, so that's the end of this video, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.